This is a game where you and your friends scream and proximity chat while dragging a piano through a haunted museum. It's janky, unbalanced, and sometimes even broken. And it's outselling AAA games. Co-op games are exploding. Not just any co-op games, but the chaotic, messy, and scream at your friend kind. Their focus isn't balance or polish, but they're funnier, more shareable. So why is chaos the new king of game design? We're looking into the data, the psychology, and the design secrets behind this billion-dollar shift. There's something happening in gaming right now, and I don't think a lot of people realize how big it actually is. Co-op games, the chaotic kind, where you're screaming at your friends while everything's on fire, are exploding. Co-op used to be seen as kind of a niche, like couch games or party modes. Now it's the default. And it's not really from AAA. The biggest viral hits we've seen this year are messy, chaotic, and simple gameplay loops. But that's what makes them fun. Let me put this into perspective. Co-op games, not just the polished ones, but the chaotic, janky, and screaming proximity chat ones, pulled in over $4 billion the first half of this year. That's not just some niche corner of the market anymore. That is the market. According to GameRant, co-op titles generated around 4.1 billion USD between January and June 2025 alone. That's an 11% increase from 2024. And I think the industry is finally catching up to something the players already knew. Chaos plus friends equals more fun than perfect design. A lot more games are building for co-op now. Because if you're not letting players yell at each other mid-fight, you're kinda missing half the experience. Okay, so we know co-op is making billions. But here's what really blew my mind. Co-op games still only make up about 6% of all new releases on Steam. 6%! And yet they're responsible for up to 43% of the sales. According to a report from Video Game Insights, around 800 co-op games were released on Steam 2023. That's a 108% increase compared to 2018. More than double the volume in just 5 years. Even though they're a tiny portion of total games, they dominate the charts. Co-op games are punching way above their weight. It's like you scroll on Steam and you see these thousands of games you'll never play. But then one goofy co-op game where you and your friends scream and get chased while trying to carry a statue through a narrow hallway, that one sells like crazy. Wanna know what games are winning right now? The ones that let you enjoy chaos with your friends. I'm talking REPO, Peak and REPO. These games are absolute disasters in the best way possible. REPO takes the looting loop from Lethal Company and throws in a lot more physics, over-the-top monsters and other weird mechanics. PC Gamer called it slapstick horror. And honestly, that's exactly what it is. Every mission turns into this hysterical chain reaction of screaming, tripping and throwing your dead friend into 5 monsters. And then there's Peak, a co-op climbing game where you and your friends are just trying to scale a mountain. And every jump has the potential to undo the last 20 minutes of progress. It sold 100,000 copies on day 1, has a 93% rating on Steam, and at one point had more Twitch viewers than GTA 5. It's not because it's polished, it's because it's pure chaos with people you like yelling in your ear. These games aren't even trying to be balanced or deep or even fair. They're taking a different approach. They're trying to be funny and stressful while also being very shareable. You don't remember the perfect match. You remember the moment your friend fell off a mountain and took the entire team with them. And the internet loves that. So yeah, these games are chaotic. They're also probably slightly broken, very stressful and most of the time pretty scary. And yet people can't stop playing them. It's about what happens between the chaos. The shared laughter, the way one moment can turn into an inside joke that lasts for weeks. Co-op doesn't just change the gameplay, it literally changes how the game feels. There's this study I read. It sounds kinda obvious, but it did hit me. People who did something fun together reported more joy, more positive emotion and more meaning than those who did the same activity alone, even if it was just a simple game. The study's called Fun is More Fun When Others Are Involved. They found that doing a fun activity with others made it feel more exciting, more satisfying and even more memorable. Meanwhile, people who did the same thing alone felt mostly neutral. Same activity, totally different experience, just because someone else was there. And you've probably felt that, right? Like you're playing alone and you're just kinda blank-faced. But the second someone joins, everything becomes 10 times funnier. Even the bugs become highlights. That's game design fuel. The physics are usually janky. everything's too heavy to carry, and half the time you don't know if the game is bugging out or just vibing. But either way, there's always that friend who's thrown himself into you to knock you over, and somehow that is what makes it brilliantly designed. Repo's item handling can be described as stressful, accident-prone, and mildly infuriating. You can even call it comedy horror, because the more monsters that show up, the funnier it gets watching your friends panic while their ragdoll bodies fly through doorways. Same thing with Peak. Every failed jump, every mistimed swing becomes this perfect comedic moment. You're trying not to lose it when someone misses a grab and takes everyone else with them. Like, yeah, good mechanics matter, but games that let you mess up in hilarious ways, they create moments that people remember. We don't really talk about it much anymore, but the pandemic kind of rewired how people connected. For a while, co-op games weren't just fun, they were how we stayed in touch. And even now, years later, that hunger for shared play hasn't gone away. A study from Games and Culture looked at how online games became lifelines during lockdowns. Friends, co-workers, even strangers played together to feel something close to normal. And now that things are open again, that habit stuck. The idea of playing totally alone feels kind of empty. You can feel it in the games that blow up today. They're not just about gameplay loops, they're about moments with people. And after years of isolation, those moments hit way harder than they used to. So we talked about why these games feel better, but now let's talk about why they actually blow up. It's not just about the chaos, it's also about how easy it is to share that chaos with other people. According to Video Game Insights, the average co-op game sells around 40,000 units on Steam. The average single-player game about 5,000. That's roughly 8 times more sales, and the reason is co-op is more visible. The second something chaotic happens, someone trips, screams, messes up, or saves the day, it becomes a moment worth sharing. Games like Palworld and Helldivers 2, they succeeded because they gave players stories to show their friends. Co-op games naturally generate what marketers dream about: free content. If your game gives your players a reason to clip something, meme it, or just scream about it in a group chat, you don't need $1 million ad budget. The players will do the marketing for you. These games were basically built for streamers. At one point, Peak had over 145,000 concurrent viewers. That's more than GTA 5 was pulling for a goofy mountain climbing game. Why? Because viewers love watching their favorite creators barely hold it together. Game Rant called Peak perfect for clips, reaction videos and memes. Same story with Lethal Company and Repo. Games where the proximity chat is just your friend screaming and the physics make even a simple doorway a potential death trap. They're content factories. Every match becomes a highlight reel without even trying. You don't need a boss fight or a massive story moment, you just need a friend who trips over a barrel that can go viral on TikTok. In a world where clips spread faster than trailers, that might matter more than deep systems ever did. This co-op wave didn't just happen because games got funnier, it happened because the infrastructure finally caught up with demand. Platforms made co-op easier. Steam's Remote Play Together lets people play local multiplayer from different countries. Indie developers can now build fully online co-op systems without setting up their own servers. And crossplay, that used to be rare, now it's expected. Combine that with built-in voice chat, easy screen recording and instant sharing, and suddenly playing together just makes way more sense than playing alone. Co-op doesn't really feel like a secondary mode anymore. Now it's more like the default. And the games that embrace that, even if they're messy or weird, are the ones that are blowing up. Alright, so you're probably wondering, should I make a co-op game? And yeah, I've asked myself that too, a lot. Let's be real, co-op is hard to make, like way harder. You're making it work across players, across machines, syncing movement, handling voice chat, dealing with lag, disconnects and edge cases. It's a whole other beast. But if you nail it, even just a janky version with good marketing, that payoff is massive. People just want moments together that they can laugh at, panic through and clip to TikTok. And if your game gives them just that, they'll forgive a lot. The biggest co-op hits right now aren't perfect, but they know what they are. And they lean hard into it. So if you've got a good idea and you're ready for the tech pain, it might be the best time ever to build something for friends. Just maybe don't start with a 4-player physics sandbox as your first Unity project, unless you like debugging network transforms at 3 AM. Although I want to say something that usually gets lost in this hype around co-op games. Solo games aren't going anywhere, and they never will. Because there's a different kind of magic when you play alone. There's no teammates, no distractions, and you lose yourself in the world. There's this focus, this immersion. You start noticing the tiny details. You start caring more about your colony, your character, and your journey. A lot of my favorite moments has also happened without friends. They happened alone, like 10xing my production in Factorio or taking down a boss I thought I never beat. Single player games give you depth, they give you full control. You don't have to perform, you're not being watched, it's just you and the story. Whether that's a literal story or the one you create through mechanics. You can think, you can breathe, you can make progress without pressure. Sometimes we need that. Not every night needs to be chaos and laughter. Sometimes it's about reflection, challenge, or just peace. So even while co-op games are exploding, solo games are the backbone. They're where we go to recharge. Maybe not everyone, but many people do. So no, this isn't about replacing single player. It's just adding more options to how we play. And honestly, that's a win for all of us. Chaotic co-op games are winning right now, because they're human. They let you scream, mess up, and laugh until your stomach hurts. And then hit ready up and do it all over again. But the real win is not one genre over the other. Some nights you want the chaos, other nights you want the quiet. And it's pretty amazing that we get to choose. Whether you're building with friends or surviving on your own, the best games give us moments. Funny, powerful, and unforgettable. So whatever you're playing next, lean into it. And watch this if you want to learn something new.